Shadows crawl and nightmares call. Brace yourselves, one and all. It's the Scare Factor Podcast, Season 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scare Factor Podcast, the #1 haunt podcast according to ChatGPT. Yes, still. Did you miss me, dear listeners? I missed you. My name is Brian of Team Skelligore in Central New York. Joining me in this brand new season, I have two brand new hosts. We have Morgan of Team Brady Pack in Indiana. Morgan, how are you?
Whoop whoop, I'm doing great. Brian, thanks for letting me join you.
I am thrilled to have new, fresh hosts, victims. I don't know. We'll make it work. Look, it's great to have new voices on the podcast. Also joining me as a brand new host for this season is Taylor, also of Team Brady Pack, also somewhere in the Midwest. Taylor, how are you?
I'm chilling like a villain.
Yeah. And returning to the podcast, a longtime fan favorite, Nora of Team Zombillies, also somewhere in the Midwest. Nora, how's it going?
It's going great.
I'm glad to hear it. So, initially we were going to do this episode with a guest, and then there was like a mix-up with scheduling and stuff. So we had a whole bunch of questions for the guest. You guys are going to have to listen to that in a future episode, I guess. So we had to change a few things last minute. It happens. Don't worry about it. We'll make this work. We're professionals. Trust me. For the first question, and Nora, you might be the best person to answer this. Who the fuck are we, and what do we do anyway?
We are the Scare Factor. So, we like haunted houses. We go to haunted houses. We review haunted houses. We video them. We have a directory full of them. We do all of the haunted house things, but we're not just haunted house attractions that you go to and during Halloween. We also do a lot of the paranormal stuff too. Specifically, all of us but Brian, because Brian doesn't believe in ghosts. But today, you guys will see that maybe that'll change a little bit with these stories that are coming up, but you never know. But yes, you can go to thescarefactor.com where you can find all of our reviews, 2,500 plus haunted attraction listings. We've actually just added spooky spots. So as we build that, you'll be able to find like your haunted house restaurants, your Halloween stores that are open year round, a lot of things like that. That'll be really fun to do. And then we also have the real haunted places listed.
Yeah. And then, we have the new spooky spots thing, which is cool. Like a bunch of oddities and curiosities and spooky stuff to just kind of do whenever, just weird things, because we are weird people. And I think everybody here would agree with that. We're weird people that like weird shit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see how that spooky spots directory kind of fleshes out, because I love that sort of thing when I'm traveling, just finding weird places to go and finding cool shit. So, Morgan and Taylor, you guys are the fresh meat around the Scare Factor, your brand new team. For either one of you, what made you want to become a reviewer? Like, why write about haunted houses? It's a weird thing to do. As previously discussed, we are weird people. So
we are weird people. I feel like we fit in perfect into the Scare Factor family. I know for me, I was a fan of the Scare Factor before I became a reviewer. So I watched the Scare Factor videos and would go to the website to look up which spots in town were the spookiest. And then I saw the ad on Facebook to, become a reviewer myself. And I was like, absolutely, I would love to take the opportunity to do that. And it's been nonstop ever since. I love it. We did our team did our first season, official haunt season last year. So we got through that season, and we want to triple it this year. We want to triple the amount of reviews that we're going to do. And we love it. We love you guys, and we can't wait for the future.
That is an ambitious goal to triple your output. Then again, I'm a one-man army here, right? So like me saying I'm going to triple my output, oh my god, I don't know if I could do like 15 reviews in a season all by myself.
Yes, you can. You got this, Brian.
Says the person who writes a whole review in the 20-minute car ride from one haunt to another. Look, I don't want to hear it from you, Nora. You kind of talked about whose idea it was to join the factor, join us here at the Scare Factor. So what, you just So you saw the ad, and you're like, hey, that sounds cool. I like what these people are doing. Hey, you other people, come here. We're going to do some cool shit this year. Is that how that went down? Or
For sure, for sure. Our team has changed over the last year. We had a few different teammates during October of last year. We just wanted to change our team up to better suit the goals of Team Brady Pack. And also, me and Taylor both love writing. We were both writers, and so it just fits perfect. And me and Taylor rekindled our friendship, and we're gonna be a power duo for sure.
And thus it shall be.
And thus it shall be.
So you're really missing the opportunity to call yourselves the Wonder Twins here. Just saying.
Wonder Witches.
Wonder Witches.
Yeah, missed opportunity. So what's your favorite hunt that you've seen so far?
Well, from my experience, probably Talon Falls. It's probably been the best one I've ever been to before.
Talon Falls is we went to Talon Falls as teenagers together. It was one of the first haunted scream parks, because it's a scream park that I had ever been to, and it's just very memorable. It's a memorable night every time we go.
And each year is super more like they've advanced with their characters and the acting. It's just spookalicious. It's just great to go there, and it's kind of nostalgic. Like Morgan said, we started going there when we were teenagers, so it's nice to go and see it again.
And I love all
That's cool.
I love all haunted houses that are touch haunts. Like your extreme haunted houses are my absolute favorites. Please touch me. I sacrifice myself always.
She does. She's not lying.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I like a little bit of extra, I guess, immersion in a haunt. If that means like grabbing me and physically moving me to another scene or something, I'm all for it. I don't know if I'm with you on that whole extreme haunt thing, though. Like, please don't zap me or drown me or hurt me in any way. No, I don't want any of that.
Well, Brian,
Morgan, you got to stop licking things.
I'm a masochist through and through, baby. You know what I mean?
Do you have any bucket list haunts that you want to see?
That's an interesting one, because I never really plan out certain haunts. But what I do is every year around October, I go on a vacation somewhere else, and then I'll find either a haunted house around that area I'm in, or I'm just going to go find an actual haunted attraction. Like when I was in New Orleans, I didn't necessarily find a haunted house to go through, but I went to like all the parts of it that was deemed haunted and did like a ghost tour. I mean, I don't really have a bucket list per se. Like I know Morgan, she talked about one yesterday that seemed to be super extreme, and it sounds really cool.
17th door in California.
I mean, if you guys are like, well, Morgan is like super on board with the, touch me, hurt me, make me feel pain sort of thing. There's a few that are maybe a little bit closer to home for you. I think Miasma is one. They're up in Chicago. I don't know what their operating schedule looks like, but if you're really into that, there's a few a little closer to home for you.
That'd be really cool. I just want to find a haunted house that actually scares me, because I've never been scared.
I feel your pain,
and it hurts me.
I feel you on that one. I've seen so many great haunts that like have a great story, and they're just well built, and they have beautiful scenes, and they have great actors, but none of it really scares me per se. I've had longtime listeners of this podcast know that my one thing that I don't like that will actually scare me is mannequins, and I've only ever seen like one scene ever that actually really, really got me. And outside of that, just no. Mannequins, like, ugh, it's creepy. But I'm not to the level of where Nora is with spiders, right? Nora gets the hint that there may be a spider in the building next door, and she won't go in, right? Like,
never come to my house. I'm friends with all the spiders.
Yeah, Tyler's like that too. It's not cool.
Yeah, I have porch spiders, and I name them like Tyler and Jerry. They're just my friends.
Oh.
Is Jerry the idiot?
I don't know. I think Jerry's died a couple of times, and a new one pops up, and I'm like, Jerry, it's you, bub. Where you been?
All right. So what are your plans? What are your future plans as reviewers with the scare factor?
But like I said previously, like we do plan to like try to triple our output this haunt season. In the meantime, we have a list of a lot of different paranormal locations that we would like to investigate and see if we can get any evidence as a team ourselves. We just hope to grow along with you guys, and then help out as many, haunted attractions as possible in the meantime. Help them grow as well. I know we have a lot of newer haunts in our area, and we're kind of all starting at the same time. So growing together is the main goal for the scare factor and for Team Brady Pack. Growing our social media. We just started a TikTok today. And we just hope to bring lots of entertainment and joy. And also, as the witchy person I am, I hope to be able to connect with spirits on the other side and to, help them out if they need it as well.
Yeah, hocus pocus that shit.
Hocus pocus that shit.
Yeah. We're gonna put that on a T-shirt. Hocus pocus that shit.
That's a good idea.
Hey, I get a cut. I'm the one that suggested we put it on a T-shirt. Okay, I get a 2% cut of any sales on that. So, have you ever experienced anything supernatural?
Yeah, no, like 100%. It probably started super early on in my life, not going really too deep into that story, but it kind of just got more into the seeing the veil and understanding like the whole other dark side. I don't know, like I just slowly transition. I grew up Pentecostal in Kentucky. I don't know if that speaks a lot of
Oof.
volumes for a lot of other followers, but to get out of that religion and start just looking more into the dark side of the world and then being like a witch changes your whole aspect, and then just being attuned with the supernatural. And like me and Morgan, we in high school we had a group where we would all go to a cemetery, and we called ourselves ISDP, I see dead people, and would go to the local cemeteries, essentially just probably spook ourselves out more. At 100% like would pick up audio, and they would see shit in the cemetery. It was always super amazing to be a part of that.
I can tell you, like, the Indiana State Sanatorium, like, I just went up with the Scare Factor for an overnight visit, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. When I woke up in the morning, I decided as my weirdo self that I was going to go investigate the most haunted building by myself for like 30 minutes to an hour. And I got some really great footage, some knocks when asking some very intelligent responses. And there's actually a video on our Facebook page that includes a growl. There was a growl that happened on the video that I did not hear in real life, and I thought that was really cool.
And the dog bark, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a dog that barked. So yeah, there's been lots of supernatural things that have happened in our lives.
Well, maybe that'll help you out today. Before we get started, have either of you ever been ghosted? Because I sure have.
Nah, I'm pretty fucking cool. I do the ghosting.
Nora, have you ever been ghosted?
Definitely. Multiple
Yeah.
times. More as a business owner than like personally. Yes.
Fair enough. It's time for Was That a Chilling Encounter with the Other Side, or did someone just spill the iced coffee and blame a poltergeist? So here's how this is going to work. We are each going to take turns reading 2 ghost stories. One of them will be real, and by real, I don't mean that we've actually verified that, yes, it was a paranormal experience. I just mean real in the sense that the person who wrote it says it really happened to them. Whether or not it really happened, I don't know, but the person who wrote it says it did. And then one fake one. Openly, admittedly, the person who wrote it says this was made up. If you guess the correct story, if you guess the correct one as being real, you get 2 points. If nobody guesses the correct answer, then the person reading the stories in that round gets 5 points. And if you win, you will win the privilege to haunt any person of your choice upon your death.
Ooh.
Yes.
So let's get into round 1. And if you want to take notes, I recommend that you do. It might help you. It might not. I don't know. So here we go. This is story number 1. When I was 19, my best friend was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. We knew her cancer was terminal, and she had a life expectancy of 5 years at most. She and I would talk every now and then about passing on and how, even though I was healthy, I could always go before her in a car crash or some other way. We made a pact at that time. No matter which one of us left first, we would come back to the other and let them know that there was more to life after death. She eventually passed away from her illness at 22 years old, leaving behind her husband and her 3-year-old son. She passed away on a Sunday at 8:20 a.m. I remember the call from her husband vividly. He asked me to bring her son to the hospital because she had just passed away. The day was a complete blur. I couldn't find myself to come to the reality that she was no longer with us. It all felt unreal. We were allowed to be with her for a few hours in the hospital room before she was taken away. But while we were there with her, I don't know, I was just in complete shock and my mind just couldn't process it. I didn't cry. Leaving the hospital was so strange because at the time I had no children and my life revolves around my work, my home, and her. She lived a few minutes from my job at the time, so I would always leave work very early to see her, whether she was at home or the hospital. I loved her so much. I could never be away from her. So now knowing I had to go home and trying to process I would never see her again, I just threw my life for a spin. That night I couldn't sleep. I just kept trying to make sense of it all. In all honesty, I don't even remember the thoughts that were going through my head, but the feelings of loss and confusion were very prevalent to me. I couldn't sleep at all, but around 3 a.m, I felt the most beautiful and reassuring thing I had ever felt. I felt what I can only describe as a warm hug take over from head to toe, and I fell asleep. That night I had a dream. In my dream, I called her husband to let him know that she had written me a letter. He then tells me it's funny because she left him a voicemail. He then asked me to read him the letter, so I read it to him. In the letter, she tells us how thankful she is that we were in her life. She thanked us for taking care of her and loving her. She asked us to please watch over her son and that she is okay and no longer in pain. She also tells us that we will be okay. After I finish telling him about the letter, my mom comes into my room and wakes me up. She asks me for a pen and paper. I hand her a piece of paper I had, and she starts to write. When she finishes, she hands it to me, saying she didn't know why, but something told her to write this and give it to me. When I read the letter, it was word for word what my best friend told me in my dream, and she signed it with her father's last name. Now my mom only knew her by her mother's last name. No one outside her close relatives and myself knew her father's name. So I was very confused as to how she signed it with her father's last name. I asked why or how she wrote this, and my mom didn't know. She just wrote. I explained to her about my dream, and she was surprised as I was. I immediately called her husband, and I told him about the letter and my dream. He agreed they were all her words. My best friend came through with her promise. This made me a believer. I know there's more after death. So that was story number 1.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Chew on that for a little bit here. This is story number 2. When I was about 12 years old, I was home alone with my younger brother and we were watching TV in the living room. It was a Saturday night and our parents were out for the evening. We were watching a movie when we heard a noise coming from the kitchen. We both froze and looked at each other. We knew that we were the only ones home, so we were both a little scared. I slowly got up and went to investigate. I walked into the kitchen and saw that the back door was open. I had closed it before we started watching TV, so I knew that someone had opened it. I went to close the door, but as I reached for the handle, I heard a voice behind me. "Don't go in there," the voice said. I turned around and saw a figure standing in the doorway. It was a woman, and she was wearing a long white dress. She had long, flowing hair, and her eyes were wide and staring. I was frozen with fear. I couldn't move or speak. The woman just stood there for a moment, and then she turned and walked away. I watched her go, and then I ran back to the living room and turned on all the lights. I sat there for a long time trying to make sense of what I had just seen. I didn't know if I was dreaming or if I had really seen a ghost, but one thing was for sure. I was never going to be the same again. I never saw the woman again, but I've never forgotten her. I've always wondered who she was and why she appeared to me. I've also wondered if I'll ever see her again. I've never told anyone about this experience because I was afraid that people would think I was crazy, but I'm starting to think it's time to share my story. I know that there are other people out there who have had similar experiences, and I want them to know that they're not alone. I'm not sure what to make of my experience. I don't know if it was a ghost or something else, but I do know that it has changed me. It made me more aware of the world around me, and it made me believe things that I didn't believe in before. I'm still not sure what the future holds, but I'm going to keep an open mind. I'm going to try to learn more about the paranormal, and I'm going to try to understand what happened to me. So that was story number 2. So before we make our guesses, let's start with Nora. Nora, what are you thinking? Like, what stood out to you? What kind of direction do you think you might be leaning here? Was there anything that like really stood out as like, man, that's so cliche?
I think the first one, it has a lot of detail, like almost too much detail, like before the actual weird things that got written down. The second one seems more common, so a little bit more cliche.
Yeah, I mean, long white dress, flowy hair, right? Like, yeah, explain a ghost, right?
But the way that you were saying that whoever wrote the story wanted to learn more about what happened to them kind of makes me believe that that one would be the one I would go with.
Okay. So we'll come back to you with your official guess. Taylor, what are you thinking? What stood out to you?
Pretty much the same with what Nora says about the first one. A lot of detail, like could have been pulled right out of a book. But the second one, again, like is cliche, but it also gives me that ending where it's like, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. That's such a common thing to see on like Reddit when people are telling their ghost stories. They're like, I don't want other people to think I'm crazy, but I just wanted to get my story out there. I mean, that is like said so many times, and that would make me believe that that one is like pulled right off of Reddit. But that's such a common thing that it has me a little tripped up.
Okay, fair enough. Morgan, what do you think?
I'm gonna go the opposite way here, Ryan. I think that the second one is the real one or the second one is the fake one. The first one is the real one. And I think it is because of the details that make me believe that the first one is a real story. And the cliche, figure lady, just pushes me to think that that one is fake.
Okay, so let's lock in our official guesses here. And Nora, which one do you think? 1 or 2?
I'm going with 2. Wait, are we voting on whether it's fake or real?
You're trying to guess the real one.
I'm going with number 2.
You're going with number 2. Taylor, what do you think?
Oh man, number 2 makes me believe it's right off of Reddit, but I'm gonna have to say 2. It's the real one.
Okay, and Morgan, what do you think?
I'm going number 1.
You're going number 1. So just to clarify, Nora thinks number 2 is the correct one, is the real one. Taylor thinks number 2 is the real one. And Morgan thinks number 1 is the real one.
Correct.
The correct answer is story number 1. That is from user OKPangolin9483 on Reddit. So I love that you guys honed in on like all these details. And I thought to myself as I started reading this, I'm like, man, this one is so long. Why did I pick this? Right. And then as I started reading the second one, so get this, I made the second one up.
Okay.
So I wrote it. I fooled you.
Screwed, Taylor.
Yep, you could have put that shit on Reddit, and I would have been like, damn, that's a real story.
Right? Like as I read this, like, the long white dress and the flowy hair, like, man, that stands out so much. It's such a fake story.
But how many times have people written stories like that?
Right. And that's what stands out to me is like, that sounds so fake. Right. But I got you. So Morgan gets 2 points for choosing the correct one.
Thank you very
much. Morgan, since you got that last one correct, you get to go next. Let's hear your 2 stories.
My first story is called A Native American Protector. They have titles, both of them. I want to tell you something that's haunted my roommate for most of his life. It's a story he doesn't always like to share, but when he does, you can feel the room change. Since he was a kid, my roommate has been followed by what he describes as a bloodied up Native American man. Not a ghost, not a dream, a presence. It all started when he was 11. He and his dad had gone camping deep in the woods, one of those places where the trees don't seem to breathe and fog never quite lifts. And one morning, as they were unzipping their tent, still shaking off their sleep, he saw him. A man standing on the edge of the trail, wrapped in traditional Native American warrior regalia, but soaked in blood. Like he walked straight out of a forgotten war. They locked eyes, and then his dad saw him too. But instead of panic, his father just nodded and said, "Don't be afraid, he's here to protect us." Now that should have brought comfort, but it didn't yet because even at 11, my roommate could feel it. Protection or not, this was someone you couldn't call friendly. The next time he saw the man, he was playing hide and seek, crouched behind a tree, waiting to jump out and scare his friend. But when he turned to look back behind him, there he was. Again, the warrior, silent, bloody, watching. That was the last time my roommate ever felt fear around him. Since then, he's seen him everywhere. Every place he has lived, even on city sidewalks and walking down roads close to wherever my roommate called home at the time. He doesn't speak often, but when he does, it's deliberate, like each word costs something. Most of the time, he just stands there, arms crossed, eyes steady, a quiet nod now and then, like a soldier acknowledging another, a sentinel. They've only had a handful of conversations, and yes, he does have a name, but the thing is, some names, they don't belong in stories. Not because they're evil, but because they're watching, listening, always. And calling out might invite others to listen too, others that aren't here to protect. As someone sensitive to energy, I can tell you the space around this figure, it's heavy, clear, guarded. This isn't just some wandering spirit, this is something with purpose, with a mission, and possibly with enemies. So when I visit my roommate's place and feel something brush the edge of my awareness, or I catch the faint smell of blood in an empty room, I don't panic. I just remind myself he's still here, still watching, and he still looks like he just walked away from something that didn't end well for the other guy. And that's the first one. So my second one is called Near-Death Experience. I'm not saying I was haunted, but something weird followed me for a while, and it all started with this guy in my dreams. He didn't look scary or anything. He looked like a young guy, maybe early 20s. Pale skin, neatly combed black hair, and this kind of calm, unreadable expression. What always stood out to me, though, was how he dressed, like he stepped right out of the 1920s. Suspenders, button-up shirt, shiny shoes, and one of those newsboy caps pulled low over his eyes. In every dream, he was just there, in the background. He never moved or said anything, just stood still, kind of watching, not in a threatening way, more like waiting kind of way. For what, I have no idea. It happened a handful of times over a few months, and then just like that, he stopped showing up. I didn't really think much of it. Dreams do come and go. Then came the night I was driving home from South Carolina. It had been a long day, and I was pushing it. Roads were wet, it was getting late, and the fog rolled in thick. I was maybe 40 minutes from home when a car swerved into my lane. I barely had time to react, slammed the brakes, the tires skidded, and I ended up spinning off the road and straight into a ditch. The car was totaled, airbags went off, my chest felt like I had been punched by a freight train. I remember blinking a few times, trying to catch my breath. Everything was kind of blurry. I looked up, and in the haze of the headlights and fog, he was there, the guy from my dreams, standing on the side of the road a few feet away, just watching. I stared at him for a few minutes, unsure if I hit my head harder than I thought, but I wasn't unconscious. I was alert enough to feel the pain and panic, and then he was just gone. A few minutes later, the paramedics showed up. I was lucky, just a fractured collarbone and nothing worse. They told me most people wouldn't have walked away from that crash. I haven't seen him since, not in my dreams, not on the road, and not anywhere. But every once in a while I wonder, did he show up because something was supposed to happen that night? Or was it just a strange coincidence that my brain decided to try and connect the dots? And that's the second one. So what do you guys think?
Very nice.
They're both creepy. I like the writing though. That's good.
So who wants to go first? Nora, you wanna take what are you thinking?
These are both hard because they're both about potentially watchers that are just kind of looking over them. But the first one, being more scary and bloody, like he'd just been in battle, but like, why is he trying to watch over somebody now? I think I'm gonna go with number 2, only because I've heard similar stories from other people. But this one's really hard, Morgan. Like I could believe both of them.
You're welcome.
But, yeah, I'm gonna go with near-death experience as real.
Taylor, what do you think? Or which way are you leaning here?
That it's hard because there is a theme here, and I think that was done on purpose.
Mhm.
And I almost want to say that the second one is fake. I don't have any evidence on why I would believe that, except just going with my gut.
So I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I can the way you read both of those makes me think that you personally didn't write either one. I think you sourced both of them from like Reddit or somewhere else on the internet. And the only reason I think that is because like when you read something that you specifically intentionally wrote, you know the kinds of like pauses and accents and emotions that you want to put into certain words. And it sounds to me like when you're reading both of them that like I guess the inflection wasn't quite there. So that doesn't really help me at all. For the record, I just wanted to point out that like I don't think that you specifically wrote either one of these yourself. If anything, I think if you wrote one of these, you wrote the second one, but that first one I think you definitely found on the internet. So in that first one, I wrote down some things here. So like we have our stereotypical like bloodied Native American warrior, you know, with the headdress and yada yada, that sort of thing. So like why did the roommate's dad know that like this was okay? Why did dad say like we're gonna be okay, son? Like that sounds really cliche, right? And also like apparently if this ghost has a name, I know it said in the story like some names aren't meant for this world. Like how fucking cliche. Like tell me you couldn't think of a name without telling me you couldn't think of a name, right? So he's got a name, but you absolutely refuse to say it. So and then in the second one here, you know, this one, I'm kind of leaning towards this might be a little more correct or as the real one, just because like, you know, this doesn't feel as cliche, although like it does have the cliche like car crash. Like I crashed my car and there was the ghost, man. Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen this in media or I've read this in stories. Like, yeah, that's a really common thread there. And then the ghost shows up after the crash. I like both of these are really hard because like they both have the same sort of cliche elements that stand out to me as like, that's a fake ghost story. I'm gonna say that the real one is number 2, the boy in the newsboy cap.
So final answer, Nora.
My final answer is the near-death experience.
Taylor.
Wait, am I picking the real one or the fake one?
The real one.
The real one? I'm actually gonna flip it, and it's the Native American protector.
Okay. And Brian.
I think it's number 2, the near-death experience.
All right. So are you guys ready? The answer is number 1 is the real one.
Damn.
That's the real one. Really?
Damn.
And get this, Brian. I wrote both of these stories, and
You roasted her real good. It was real good over here.
but I did.
I thought for sure you would have found that first one on Reddit or something.
No, I
just
wrote
like
both of these stories, and my roommate actually told me the first one. So the first one is his experience, and the second one I wrote as well, and I did write it in a way to make it seem very similar in the cliches to try to trick you guys because I'm competitive as fuck. Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
2 points to Taylor.
All right. So since Taylor got that right, Taylor, why don't you go next? Nora, you and I, we gotta pick this up a little bit.
Yeah, what's going
No
on?
kidding.
What's going on over there? Get it together. All right. Story number 1. Doppelgangers scare the crap out of me. Came face to face with one once. My late brother, John, and I were out all day taking care of paperwork, errands, and grabbing a lunch together. At 4 p.m, he dropped me off at my place before beginning his 4-hour drive to the southern Indiana town he lived in at the time. Just minutes after he dropped me off at home, before I went to the front door, I remember that I had forgotten to ask him to bring me to the store 2 blocks over to pick up something for that night. But it was only 2 blocks, so I decided to walk. Halfway there, I passed a city bus stop, and someone was standing there. I noticed this guy was wearing black jeans, a shirt, and a cowboy hat. A little odd, I thought, because cowboy hat wearers were very rare in that part of town. I assumed he must have been visiting someone, and I only looked at him from the corner of my eye, and I was directly across the street. So I continued along the way, minding my own business. Later, I saw him again as I looked behind me, crossing the street at a right angle and coming up behind me from the sidewalk, placing some 50 feet behind me. I figured, well, as long as he stays back, I have nothing to worry about. I get to a busy 4-lane intersection and cross the sidewalk, and the turn that was 90 degrees to complete my walk to the store. About halfway, I noticed a guy again behind me, 50 feet, and coming up to me fast. I completely turned around and he looked directly in my face. And to my shock, the guy looks like a spitting image of my brother John. So instinctively, I began to walk towards him, saying, "John, what the heck? How did your truck break down?" But I stopped dead cold in my tracks, thinking to myself, well, how the hell was he just wearing a red sweatshirt, hoodie, and blue jeans? How did he change clothes so fast? And why? This figure did not say a greeting back, but continued to smile ear to ear and come at me faster. My primal spiritual instincts kicked in, as in the most cold and dark chill raced down my spine, and spoke out a Wiccan spiritual protection chant and visualized a white force field light of protection engulfing me. The figure comes to a dead stop 20 feet from me. It continued to grin and instantly darted across the 4-lane road, busy with rush hour traffic, until it stopped on the sidewalk on the other side of the road. It looked back at my face from across the street, and then while looking at me, walked behind a tree, and it didn't come out from the other side. 15 minutes later of composing myself and finally reaching the store, I instantly whipped out my cell phone and called my brother. "John, where are you?" He said, "About an hour outside of Indy." "Why? What's up?" And I was like, "I'll tell you later." And then I did. And that's the end of story 1. All right. Story number 2. The Witch's Castle. Me and a small group composed of my best friend Corey, his girlfriend Amy, and my girlfriend Jordan all made a plan to go visit the Witch's Castle in Utica. Since it's on a private property, we knew we were going to have to trespass quietly at night. We gathered the necessary equipment in case we caught live footage of a ghost presence there. We were all giddy as we kept driving down that road that we would lead us closer to the Witch's Castle, trying to execute the best drop-off location for our vehicle and begin our hike as it got darker. Once we ditched our car a mile down the road, near what seemed to be a dirt lot near the river for boaters, we started our hike to the castle. Everyone mostly stayed quiet instead of Corey, who kept trying to scare Amy. As we approached the crumbling stone building, there was an eerie chill in the wind. Once inside, we turned on our flashlights to take in the scenery of graffiti and empty liquor bottles on the floor. At the fireplace seemed to hold a few dirty plush animals and other offerings for presumably the 12-year-old girl that was murdered here. The cellar was wide open, also assuming by others who wanted to explore where 3 witches were said to be burned. Down in the cellar, we lit a few candles and set up a single video camera I borrowed from my sister. Jordan is a skeptic of all things supernatural, but once in the cellar, she grabbed my hand tight and had a drained look in her eyes. Amy and Corey are big believers of this, and I have my own beliefs for spirits, but they are crazy about it. Amy lit more candles and a single incense stick as we all sat on the floor. Once she was settled with us, she began a seance with a spirit board. The board started spelling out words that didn't make any sense, and to this day, I don't know if Amy and Corey were just messing with us. But one thing for sure, the energy shifted and I felt like I was going to puke. Close to 20 minutes of Amy putting on the show, Jordan let out the biggest scream and the candles blew out. Jordan jumped up and ran out of the cellar. With sheer panic, I ran after her. Corey and Amy followed soon after us. Outside, Jordan was saying how she saw a shadowy figure standing in the corner and just as the candles blew out, the figure split into thirds. After a few minutes of calming Jordan down, I ran back into the cellar to grab the camera, scared out of my mind. Knowing someone heard the scream, we hightailed it back to the car. Jordan swears she saw the 3 witches. Later on, I reviewed the footage, and right before the candles went out, there was what seemed to be an apparition in the corner. I didn't see it turn into 3, but there were really odd noises and crying sounds right before I'm seen coming back down. I'm still unsure, or just scared to admit it, that we caught footage of the witches or that little girl from the Witch's Castle. And that is the end of story 2.
So, yes, I'll take the lead here on this one. So in the first one, the first one makes me think that this is something that did happen to you specifically. You know, there's like just little things in there that the way you read it and like little details that stood out to me as like, maybe this really happened to you specifically, right? This struck me as the sort of thing you would be telling somebody about right after the fact. Like, yeah, you would not believe this. Yeah. So I just had a question. Was the cowboy hat the apparition wearing, was that also black, or I didn't catch that?
It was also black.
Yeah. Okay. So it was just like all black.
All black. Yeah.
So Yeah, so I mean, like, this guy's staying like 50 feet behind you, looks like your brother. I can't read what I wrote here. So that to me, like, this one just feels a little bit more real. The second one also feels, the second one feels a lot like a Reddit post, if that makes sense, right? Like, there's those little details that you get in terms of, like, that you would put in a Reddit post because it's a written format. And so you can go in and you can add these little details because, like, long posts that are well written get lots of karma, and sometimes you get awards, which means absolutely nothing, but, make the number go up, right? So that being said, I'm leaning towards number 1, but I want to hear what the others have to say first.
All right. Nora, do you want to go?
Sure. I'm also gonna agree with Brian. I feel like sorry. I feel like that just also felt like a first person story to me. I've also been to a witch's castle, like closer to here though, but it's not a building at all. It's like a enclosure for a witch. I don't know why they call it the witch's castle, but if there actually is a witch's castle, I would like to go there. But I'm gonna go with number 1 as well.
Number 1 being the real or fake one?
Real.
The real one.
Listen, I think I'm gonna flip the script here again and say that number 2 is the real one, because I really do feel like Taylor wrote the first one. I just feel like 85% confident, but I just don't think that it's real. I'm getting the feeling that it's not. So I don't think she wrote the second one, and I think she might have found that one. So I think that one's the real one.
I did have one more question about the witch's castle story. So at the very beginning, you mentioned it was in Utica. Is there a specified state here? Because there's a Utica, New York. Because if this took place in New York, then I know which one is the right one.
I mean, I know there's a Utica, Kentucky too.
Yeah, it'd be Utica, Kentucky.
Oh, okay. All right. I am gonna guess number 2 then, just based on the way that you answered that. You're like, yes, this would be Utica, Kentucky. Like, oh, okay. All right.
Okay. So,
all right, fair enough.
So to clarify, Brian, you think number 2 is the real story?
I think number 2 is the real story here.
Okay. And Nora, you think the real story is number 1?
Well, shit, I did.
Morgan, you thought...
But I'm...
which one did you think was the real one again?
The second one.
The second one.
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody have their final answers?
Yeah, I think Nora's the only one who's on the fence now.
Okay.
I am, yeah. I'm the only opposite one. Fuck it. I'll stay there.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
The real story is story number 1.
Oh. Yes!
God damn it! I should have stuck with it.
So the first one is actually something I found on Reddit, and then the second one I wrote, but it is about a real place in Utica, Kentucky.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't know, the witch's castle, like, it felt like, okay, this feels like a real place, and then you were like, yeah, this would be in Kentucky. I'm like, no, okay, you wrote this one. No, this one's gotta be the real one. Damn it, I should have stuck with it.
Confident. I failed.
Right.
Oh, you gotta be shitting me, man! I'm gonna lose this game.
You have one more opportunity.
That's fine.
Brian.
That's fine. So right now things are all tied up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Nora's gonna be.
I haven't been keeping track of points.
Yep.
I hope you guys have.
Oh yeah.
It's 2 points for everybody besides you, Brian.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's all right, Nora, you're the last one.
All right. This should be interesting. All right. First one is called a Ouija board. So when I was in high school, I found a group of my friends who love to do spooky stuff with me, and we go out in the middle of the night to the supposed haunted cemetery in Indiana, Bridgewater Cemetery specifically. It was said that if you went after midnight, you'd have the best luck at having an experience. So of course, we waited until after midnight and set out into the darkness. We pulled up to some towering iron cemetery gates, and as instructed by a sketchy article online, we pulled our car right into the gates to where our front end was poking inside the cemetery. First, we were all just sitting there, too scared to get out and waiting for something to happen. Every now and then, we'd hear something outside and freak out and then sit quiet, listening again. Well, as teenagers, we decided on the way in to steal the road sign the cemetery was on. So, we're all sitting there with the road sign in the trunk. No one could touch it without getting out of the car and opening the trunk. The metal road sign starts moving around in the back of the car. We all freak out, and after sitting for a while longer, it got super quiet again. From there, we folded down the back seats of our car, sat in as much of a circle we could get into, Indian style, and pulled out an Ouija board. Then, we all started asking the normal questions. How old are you? How did you die? etc. Well, eventually, the planchette started moving pretty quickly. Granted, there was about 5 different teenagers in the car with their hands on this thing, but it was moving and moving fast. Well, it kept going to the letter K. Over and over again, it would go up to K and then circle around and back to K. So we were like, are you trying to say kill? And it quickly slams up to yes and back to K. We all kind of looked at each other, terrified. Are you trying to kill us? And it goes to yes. Then it started spinning in circles very fast, and eventually it flew off the board. We all freak out, shakingly get our crap together, and put the board away. And then we decided to leave the cemetery that night. And that is story number 1. All right, here we go. Next one is Waverly Hills. So on a very dark, spooky fall night, my 5 friends and I set out on an overnight ghost hunt at Waverly Hills Sanitarium. We start out doing our typical ghost hunting on the lower levels of the building. It was an active night. We already seen some strange lights and heard some very strange sounds, and no one else was in the massive building with us. Eventually, we make our way to the 4th floor, where the supposed Timmy or other children like to play ball. Well, we're in the middle of the building, and we decide to split into 2 groups, so 3 of us go one way, and 3 of us go the other way. My group has 1 red flashlight, and we head down a very scary hallway with just the 3 of us in the red hue. We start going into rooms looking for a ball to throw. We find a few and meet back in the hallway, where we hear a loud noise from the opposite end. We decide to go back to the middle of the hall, where we started, and we'd throw the balls towards the sound to see if something or someone would throw them back. So all 3 of us line up, and I throw a ping pong ball I'd found down the concrete hallway. Bounce, bounce, bounce. And then silence. Then my friend Nancy throws a larger ball into the darkness. We hear it bounce and then roll and hit something. So Mario, my other friend, throws a bouncy ball down the hall, and it bounces twice and then stop. What? So we're all standing there waiting in total silence, and we keep waiting, and all of a sudden, a bouncy ball comes bouncing back at us out of the darkness. We scream and freak out as the ball passes by us. Then we heard a child laughing from the other end of the hallway where the ball came from. Did they just throw that ball back at us? And that's story number 2.
Okay.
Morgan, what are you thinking?
Here's my theory. I think that the second one is fake because it just seems, I don't know, like
Right on.
I
I got
really,
you.
You want to expand on that at all? You know, not like we're in a medium that prioritizes talking and taking up time or anything.
sorry. Brain dead.
I literally watched your mind just drift away as you went to explain.
Well, I think that there's supposed to be 10 people that go do an investigation at Waverly, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I'm not 100% sure, but that makes me think that the second one is fake and the first one is real.
Okay. Taylor, what do you think? Which way are you leaning here?
Well, I was also thinking, because I feel like Nora would want to trip us up by putting a story about Waverly in here and it not be the real one, or I don't know, it's got me twisted again. So I don't know, I'm gonna need to ponder on that because I feel like I'm getting tricked, but I'm getting tricked into picking the wrong one. I don't know, it's weird.
So I think I know which one this is, and I'm not going to say why. I will say why after we get after we get confirmation here. But I do have a question. So Nora, in the first one, you were talking about how like after you asked the questions like, do you want to kill us? And it went to yes. And then like the planchette started like spinning really fast. Was it spinning like without anybody touching it, or like what's the deal there?
It started with all of us touching it, and then it basically flew out of our hands and was spinning in a complete circle on the board, and we all just kind of like let go of it, like what the hell.
So it just like kind of like a flat spin. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So and then And then, so with the Waverly one, you mentioned it was just 5 of you. So 3 of you. So you and Mario and Nancy went one way, and then I assume the other group of 2 went, elsewhere, right? Is that, am I just
There was
understanding
6
that
of us
correctly?
total.
Okay, 6. So it's like
Yeah.
you
So
3 and
3
then
and
another
3.
3. Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'm thinking that maybe it's that second one, and I'll give my reasons as to why, but I think I have an unfair advantage here.
I think you have an unfair advantage. So you're going as the second one is true or false?
I think the second one is true, but
Okay.
I don't know. Let me chew on that for a second.
Morgan, you sticking with
I'm
yours?
sticking with number 1 is facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taylor, what do you think?
I mean, you made a good point. Like, unless Waverly was a different like number at some point, it's supposed to be 10. So the math ain't mathing, and I guess I'm gonna have to just go with number 1 being the real story.
Okay. I'm going with number 2, and the reason is I'm pretty sure I've seen the actual video of this happening.
So, you guys ready? Because this one's going to be trippy.
Yes.
The Ouija board story is actually true.
Yes!
Woohoo!
The Waverly Hills story is partially true. Brian didn't give me any rules, so parts of the Waverly Hills story actually are true. There was actually 16 of us in the building, and to answer the 10 people, Waverly Hills does do overnight investigations for $1,000 total. Generally, people split that up $100 per person at 10 people.
Gotcha.
But if 2 of us wanted to go, as long as we pay the full $1,000, we're good. But with the Waverly story, we didn't hear any children, unfortunately. A ball really did bounce back at us, and Brian's correct. He's seen the footage. Bill snuck around the end of the hallway with a night vision camera and threw the ball back at us, and none of us knew he was down there.
Damn it, Bill.
I forgot about that part. Like, I knew that
Yep.
it had happened, and I knew that, like, there was some explanation in there.
Yeah, but the Ouija board story, I promise you, that is completely real.
Okay, so that means we have a tiebreaker between Morgan and Taylor.
Hashtag Team Brady Pack
Woo.
in the house.
So we got a tiebreaker here. So
Real quick.
let's see here. Yeah, I mean, so like we can either like I can read you 2 more stories to determine one of you has to go one way and the other has to go the other way here. Like, you can't, like, I don't have unlimited tiebreakers. Or you can just, like,
Rock, paper, scissors.
after the podcast, you can just, like, fight each other for it.
We
Like,
will
personally, I don't really
aggressively
care.
fight each other.
You know what? We'll fight each other, and then we'll post that on the Facebook page.
We will.
That sounds good.
You could do both. So in a first here, we have 2 first place winners who are going to fight each other. We're going to sell tickets to it. It'll be on pay-per-view, $19.95 per person, and you're going to need a webcam because we need to make sure that you're the only one watching. Any more people, they got to pay too. All checks can be made out to Brian, cash, or the Scare Factor. I mean, any of those will work. We'll take your money. However you want to give it to us, we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll go live.
So I think
I need to apologize to Indiana. The Utica Witches Castle is actually in Indiana. Kentucky is not that cool. I have been corrected.
Okay.
fair enough. All right. We'll put it in the show notes.
All right.
Okay.
So I think that's about all the time we have for today. Nora, how can people find you and the things that you create?
They can find all of us at thescarefactor.com. They can find us at The Scare Factor on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Hey, you're stealing my outro.
Oh, well, you ask.
I did ask. As Nora just said, you can follow The Scare Factor on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Check out our website, thescarefactor.com, to read reviews, find haunts, and check out the newest section, Spooky Spots, where you'll find fun and spooky places to go all year round. This podcast is available on Spotify, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, Player FM, and Podcast Index. The Scare Factor is now an affiliate of Frankenfuel, energy drinks for weirdos like you. Yes, you. You can get 15% off your order today by going to frankenfuel.com/scare factor or by clicking the affiliate link in the show's description. Frankenfuel. Wake the dead, fuel the living. We have been Brian of Team Skelligore,
Morgan of Team Brady Pack.
Taylor of Team Brady Pack.
Nora of Team Zombies.
And this has been the Scare Factor Podcast. Stay scary.